All right, if it's Friday, it's LNAW 37 counts against Donald Trump. That's going to be our topic today. 37 federal counts. There's an indictment with it's a 44-page indictment. I'm not going to go through all of that. I haven't read it. Okay, but I have seen that there's 31 counts, and this is off CBS News. 31 counts of willful retention of classified documents, one count of conspiracy to obstruct justice, one count of withholding a document or record, one count of corruptly concealing a document or record, one count of concealing a document in a federal investigation, one count of scheme to conceal, and one count of making false statements and representations. These fall within the Espionage Act of 1917, basically saying that, you shouldn't be keeping these documents around, even if you didn't. I mean, part of it, if you had the intent to do some harm. I mean, I think I had this pulled up here. The Espionage Act basically was created during World War I as a way to stifle dissent against the war and spying efforts. It prohibited disclosing national defense information that could harm the U.S. And it basically, for a while, also didn't allow writing and speech, which would probably significantly affect Donald Trump, since he does like to make speeches. Now, the Espionage Act of 1917, basically it kind of ties in a little bit with strict liability that we've discussed before. Kind of like if somebody's driving drunk, kill somebody, they didn't really want to kill the person, but that reckless act did that. You could have the intent to do harm to the United States or national defense or whatever by by keeping these documents or concealing certain documents, but just by doing that, even if you don't have the intent to do any harm to the U.S., it's a reckless act. So if you're keeping it in your house, or in this case, there's boxes of these files or papers or whatever in a bathroom at his residence in Florida, at that hotel or that resort, whatever, Mar-a-Lago. So if you're basically keeping all of these boxes and it's reckless, even if you don't have the intent to do anything bad to the United States, because really at that point you don't know. It's kind of, for lack of a better word, a shit show when you just have these documents there. And I've talked about this previously, I think when I was talking about both Biden and Trump. This isn't a case of like somebody coming in, like I've talked about before, working at home with the wife and the kids and Junior running around the house, and you got papers and laying around like an idiot. It looks like this is a little bit more sophisticated. I mean, there were boxes of these files there in his bathroom. There's like apparently a photo of that, and apparently there's a recording. I don't know, but this is what I'm hearing through reports, that there's actually a recording of him trying to tell his lawyer or somebody to conceal the documents, and basically or destroy the documents, and he's kind of saying, because there's always this question with Trump, does he really even understand what he's doing is criminal, even though ignorance of the law is no excuse? Does he really have the intent? Is he understanding what's going on? But here he's clarifying apparently that these documents should have been declassified, but they weren't, or something of that sort. So he knew that these were classified documents that could not be kept. The information, I mean, it's still news coming down right now, but there's a lot of different information. There's 31 records relating to national defense, apparently, concerning military capabilities of foreign countries and the U.S. Okay, maybe a Netflix show on this. There is a Netflix show called The Spy. Actually, it involves Eli Cohen. Sacha Baron Cohen plays Eli Cohen, the Israeli spy, worked for the Mossad, the Israeli version of the FBI or KGB or whatever, their version of that. And then he befriended all these high-level Syrian people out in South America and Argentina, and then went back to Syria, influenced a coup, went to the Golan Heights, which borders Israel and Syria, and figured out where certain military installations were, told them to actually plant trees around there, for saying that it would provide shade for the soldiers, and then he let the Israeli Mossad know that basically shoot where the trees are at, because those trees were around military installations. So stuff like that. He was hung for his behavior there. For spying, but that's the difference. This is a guy who's coming out of Israel. I mean, this is Donald Trump. We know it's unless it's a body double we're dealing with. I mean, Donald Trump's Donald Trump. We all know him. He was a president, and before that, he was always in New York City real estate or whatever. But this is this was created here in the United States for a purpose. I mean, basically, so that again, it becomes a shit show at that point. You don't know if the person actually had intent, but just by having it, it's reckless and it could cause danger. So by you knowing that these documents are classified, you can then say, oh, well, I didn't intend to do any harm to the U.S. or whatever. You should have known that these documents are classified. Your act was reckless, at the very least, and possibly intentional. So that is where this goes. I mean, many of these charges, I think, carry a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison. You know how these things work. They can work out a deal. He's got that other case pending too, but they can work out a deal, or maybe you could get dismissed or go to trial or different things. But these recording kind of things happen. I mean, it's happened to the Illinois governor. He was, they said it's called, he was doing a quid pro quo, as they call it. Basically, essentially promising or asking for favors or whatever in return for providing a Senate seat, Obama's Senate seat, when he became the president. They basically accused him of essentially selling Obama's Senate seat to many different individuals, offering it to, including, I believe, Jesse Jackson Jr. But they had him recorded. I think in one conversation, he's saying he's going to hold up the Cubs deal. There was a deal for the Cubs or some renovation of their stadium or something or another. And he said, I'm going to hold up the Cubs deal if you don't do this in this recording or whatever. And then they basically inferred from that that's him basically trying to trade favors for this Senate seat and different things like that. You can hear it. I don't know if my Chicago accent is as strong anymore to really properly emulate that recording. I think if you can YouTube it, Rod Blagojevich, Chicago Cubs Senate seat, whatever, something like that, you can find on YouTube. All right, but that's that. I mean, I haven't read this 44-page indictment. I don't have that time, obviously, but there is 37 felony counts in this 44-page indictment. We'll see where it goes. But I would just say that because most of us don't deal with super classified documentation, but this goes back to the thing, maybe a little personal life lesson here. Keep your papers and whatever at home, or try to keep electronically stored, password protected, all of that. There's no need in this day and age really to be running around with papers, and it could just cause more problems. And you might not have the intent to cause any harm, but it can be reckless to the point where you should have known that can cause problems for whether it's national security on a high level or your clients or different things. So just be careful there. All right. Have a great rest of the week, or have a great weekend, everybody. The weekend hasn't really started. It is Friday. I think we're getting close to, what time is it? 5:52. It's 5:52 in the evening on Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you.